It's been 7 years since Metroid Prime 4 was revealed, and finally, after all this waiting and restarting development from scratch, Metroid Prime 4 has finally had its gameplay reveal. I have been looking forward to this for quite a while. I don't really make videos in general, but I really wanted to make something analyzing the little smidgen of gameplay we got. So here we go. So the first thing we see is the cosmic year that this game takes place in. It takes place in 20X9, which might be 3 years after Federation Force, which took place in 20X6, but since the 10th place is crossed out, we don't really know for sure. We then get confirmation of the location, which is a Galactic Federation research facility. This kind of reminds me of the beginning of Metroid Prime 3, which also began in Galactic Federation space. Right away after that, we see the ship pull in past some rocks, and we get this beautiful look at an atmosphere and space up above. This confirms that the base is on a planet. We can also see up above right away that there are some strange new space pirate ships up there in the air. These are a lot bigger than the ones we are used to seeing. They also have a new design that's kind of different than the ones we saw in Prime 3. In Prime 3, they were flying around these almost like parasitic whale-looking ships that would embed into the sides of the ships. It's most likely that the space pirates lost track of these and they just can't make them anymore. Hey, this is editing me. I actually think these spaceships are space pirate destroyers. I was checking the Metroid wiki while editing this. You can see it here. There's the 3 prongs, there's the little spindly hairs on each of the arms, there's the glowing center. So I think what we're seeing in the middle of this trailer here is the space pirate destroyers. I don't think the space pirates are using their boarding vessel anymore. That was the cool parasitic ships that really struck a chord, stuck around in my memory. I think those aren't being used since we see space pirates use like drop pods instead. I don't know, it's hard to say, and space pirates changed their technology dramatically between games. It's kind of a big point, it's just something I really wanted to highlight. We also get a good look at Samus Aran's new spaceship. This one looks a lot like the spaceship from Prime 3. However, though it does have a slightly different color scheme, there's a larger emphasis on the gold plating on her armor, and there's these little outlines and colorations on the wing that makes it a lot more scarlet than orange. Something about it just reminds me a lot of a lobster. I don't know if I love the color scheme, but hey, it's something new. Another interesting fact about this new spaceship is that Samus actually comes out from the top of it instead of from this lower dock that extends out in the Prime 3 ship. So it's definitely an entirely new ship. We then of course get the big reveal, the big moment that makes it all feel real. We have a look at the new Samus model in HD, stunning and beautiful. It looks a lot like the Varia suit that we saw in Metroid Prime 3. All the details are in line with that. This doesn't look very much like her Smash Bros version. The coloration, the size of the lights on her legs, the leg pauldrons, the size of her shoulders. This is basically just the Prime 3 model upscaled. The only difference I was able to see is that the chest lights are slightly different. They're a little smaller on this new model. We also get the newest incarnation of Samus's theme. It's orchestral, it has a very organic sounding choir, which is very different than what we used to hear in Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and I guess 1 as well, where the choir is very synthetic. I know the music people online were able to track down the actual synth choir that was used. Yeah, this one sounds a lot more real. Which maybe it's just a VST, something they bought off of Spitfire, but yeah. And right away, we get a look at the new HUD. So a lot of stuff's returning that we kind of expected to see. In the upper left-hand corner, there's the enemy radar showing us where dudes are that we have to blast out of the way. We also, of course, get the threat indicator. It appears to be that little exclamation mark surrounded by radial clouds. Good to see that coming back. Bottom left-hand corner, we get a weapon selector, and very interestingly, the missiles are selected right on the D-pad. I'm wondering if that means we're going to have multiple weapons we can swap between on that. I don't think that's going to be beam selection, but we see so little we can't really glimpse the full context of what this is going to be. Off to the right, bottom right-hand corner, we get the ammo indicator for missiles. I don't really think that's saying anything too weird. We're starting off with 30 missiles, and I'm wondering if that's going to be like, if there's going to be a scene where Samus loses all her powers and we lose some of the missiles, because 30 is a pretty big amount of missiles to start with. And of course, in the upper right-hand corner, we get the compass and the map. It is good to see that 3D map return and give us a clear image of where exactly it is we are going. You think that would be easy to put in modern games, but I have played some recently where I was really missing this feature. Looking at you, Starfield. One interesting thing that I thought was kind of cool to see is that later on we see that the radar also highlights allies. There's this little moment where we see a bunch of little green dots on the radar indicating, hey, these are Galactic Federation guys. These are on your side. I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing more Galactic Federation dudes on our team, or if this is just a temporary feature for the intro. I don't know, something to look out for. It's something they put some thought into. So from there, we kind of start up the actual action of the trailer. Samus is just walking ahead, and right away, a big blast of purple energy and gets rid of the cannon that she was looking at. This is so reminiscent to me of Metroid Prime 3's intro. It's clear they're trying to pick up the cinematic energy right where it left off, which makes sense. This is Prime 4, not something else. This is the 4th entry. This is a reply to 3. We're picking up where we left off all those years ago, which is no small feat, but hey, Dread was able to pull it off. Very satisfyingly that we see that scanning makes a return to the game. This doesn't surprise me at all, since scanning was such a major feature of the Prime games. Worthy of note is that it appears the color for scanning new things is now green instead of blue and red. This is definitely going to be something to get used to, because in Prime 2, green was the color of stuff you've already scanned. Sorry, I have it programmed in my mind to ignore green things, but this should only take a little bit to get used to. Also, very unsurprisingly, since Metroid can't crawl, Morph Ball is back. They are implementing Morph Ball much the same way as they always have. You go into Morph Ball, the camera swaps to third person, and they take advantage of how you can't really move around whenever you're inside a vent to show you little cutscenes happening down on the ground below. Which, speaking of, around the 1 minute mark on the trailer, we see the Galactic Federation kind of wheeling something away. It's a really strange looking object, and I'm willing to bet it's some sort of MacGuffin for this entry. It's probably what they're trying to keep away from Sylux, since this kind of aligns with what Sylux has always been doing. He's a tech guy, he likes breaking into bases to steal their shit. So I'm imagining Sylux is popping in here to try to grab something that's going to help him out with whatever he's trying to do. We also get a much better close-up look at the pirates once they pop out of this pod. They are much more purple like they were in Zero Mission and Fusion. They look a lot chunkier and better fed than they have been in the Prime series. If you remember playing Metroid Prime 1, and especially 2, those boys were skinny. They were not getting any rations, often having them withheld because they refused to stop feeding the Metroids. They also have mostly armor around their torso section. They got cute little hats. They have nice little mandibles. Big fan, I love mandibles. Also, instead of the more dramatic arm cannons that they had in Prime 2, they're back to having little wrist-mounted lasers, which makes sense. We then see the big climatic scene of the trailer, and then the wall just blows open, and we get a better look at who's going to be the main antagonist of this game after all these years. Ever since the secret cutscene at the end of Prime 3, we've known that the intentions of Nintendo was to have Sylux be the main antagonist of Prime 4. We saw his spaceship at the end, we saw that he was following Samus, and this was reaffirmed in Metroid Federation Force, that Sylux was coming after Samus. He had some plans for the Galactic Federation. He was up to something. For those of you who don't know much about Sylux, it doesn't take much to get caught up to date with him. He was in Metroid Prime Hunters. His lore just states that he has a strong hatred for the Galactic Federation, but we really don't know why that is. He fights by using a lot of tech he's stolen. He has a spaceship that can fly on its own. He has a shotgun. There really isn't much to know about, but for some reason or another, he was chosen above all the other hunters who appeared in that game to keep reappearing. He was teased in Metroid Prime 3, he was teased again in Federation Force, and now here he is in Prime 4 as the main guy, the Dark Samus of this entry. And my god, this scene where he just blows open the wall and comes out, absolute shivers. And he's rolling up with a crew. He's got pirates siding with him, so Sylux has officially allied with them. But not just that, he has Metroids floating around him. But something that kind of sticks out to me about these is these Metroids, they don't really have their little organelles floating around inside them. Like most Metroids have like those 3 orbs in there. These guys don't have much going on, and they're floating around Sylux, seemingly domesticated. A big deal was made in all 3 of the Metroid Primes that you can't domesticate Metroids. Pirates are obsessed with trying to get these guys to obey their orders. They starve them, they feed them specific diets. They were even using Phazon and allying with Metroid Prime to try to find a way to control Metroids. This has always been endgame, is controlling the Chozo's ultimate weapon. Sylux being able to control them seemingly That's kind of a big deal. Like, that's something to be really concerned about. After that, we get the confirmation of the title, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I'm not wild about Beyond as a subtitle, but it's going to grow on me as I religiously recite it every night before going to bed. I like the logo, purple's a cool color. I like the weird little thing behind it. I don't know what that metal is or what that glowing in the middle means, but it's really exciting. It incites a feeling of imagination in me. And of course, after that, we get a look at an actual level, probably the first level. The music in the jungle really gives me a Talon 4 vibe. And then after that, all we're left with is a year, 2025. I'm excited. All these years with literally nothing, with just logos and people on Twitter hyper obsessed with keeping track of LinkedIns, all this stuff that we've just been waiting to get something on. We finally got it. We got 2 minutes of gameplay. And this made my year. This made my day. This made my life. I am so excited. But we had to wait so long for this. At least we don't have to wait much longer to play it. And I have good faith that we're definitely going to get to see more gameplay. The announcement for this is in a very interesting place. And I can't help but think that maybe Prime 4 is going to be a cross-console game. It'll be something like the Breath of the Wild situation, where Breath of the Wild was playable on the Wii U, but it was also intended to be one of the early launch day titles for the Switch. I'm imagining Prime 4 is going to be in a similar situation. I don't know if Nintendo views Metroid necessarily as a unit mover, as something you buy a console for, but sure as hell is one of their AAA games that they're pushing, they're going to be charging full price for, that they're hoping everyone's going to come out to buy in mass amounts. So I'm hopeful. This looks really great. I'm deeply curious about what this game's gimmick is going to be. Because Prime 1 was, okay, we're in the 3D world. Also, you can swap between all the energy types of the beams whenever you want. They don't stack. Prime 2 was light and dark and going between the light and dark world. And Prime 3 was corruption, and you can let Phazon in you and enter hyper mode, and you have to fight back the Phazon and go to multiple planets. We don't fully know Prime 4's vibe yet. All we know is that there's some sort of weird MacGuffin that the Federation's wheeling around. Silex is back, and he has it out for us personally. And the color is purple.